the children played and the families prayed and the doctors went to town. Together we stood apart, stared that COVID down. You cared for me, we cared for you. We're Canadians, that's what we do. Well, there you go.
That's
do
okay.
that.
Surprise! Get the cheese out of the way now.
Yeah, really.
Okay, so I'm Tim Dambrick, and this is Georgina Speaks. That's the name of my podcast, and I wanted to interview a big group of people about the issues of a lot of the women's and teachers' issues to kind of bolt them together. So today I have a grandmother and a granddaughter and a daughter and a teacher's aide and somebody else with teacher's aide experience who gave up her career to pursue her family interests, which was kind of a neat subject as well. So I thought within the framework of that whole group of people, we could address all of the issues, family issues and school issues throughout the evolution of the pandemic. So that's kind of where we're at. Too many big words for me. So I'll just, gotta put it on video.
Say cheese.
You gotta get in the frame.
Can't make the chair closer. There we go. I can lean in.
How's that?
All right.
We're friends.
That works.
We're not social distance, but we're friends.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Donna Hazlett and Kim Connors.
Hi.
So, I don't have to talk much now that you're in frame. So, what I would like to start off with is both as a grandmother and a mother. February rolls around, and the early parts of it are. So, what's going on with your families and stuff?
You first or me first?
You talk about what was going on with your family. I'll talk about what happened to me.
Yeah. Kids.
You can incorporate school and jobs and into the process, the evolution.
There was a lot of talk around the school. I do lunchtime supervision in kindergarten, so there was a lot of talk about, is this going to affect us, and what is it going to do, and just how are things going? And at home, we tried not to discuss too much about what might be coming until March, when they did announce that March break would be extended for those first 2 weeks. Then we started talking to the kids a little bit more about what was going on in the world. So for you?
And I think for me as an EA, same thing at the end of February, we were getting a little bit concerned about how this might affect the kids.
And an EA is?
An educational assistant.
Okay.
So I work with special needs kids in the school. Some I work a little closer with one-on-one. Some I'm helping out more in the class. You know, you try to give them as much independence as they can in the class, but some need extra support. Sure. So I'm there to help provide extra support. When they announced that March break was going to be extended, it was, it made such perfect sense at the time. The virus takes about 2 weeks to manifest itself, so that we could see if people had symptoms. A lot of people go away for March break. Mm-hmm. So the extra 2 weeks should give them time to show their symptoms if they caught it while they were away.
Right.
Yeah. And that 2 weeks made a lot of sense. And it's like, okay, well, we'll just go back after 2 weeks.
Yeah, I really expected to be back by Easter.
Yeah, and that didn't happen, did it?
No. Well, my experience of that time period is I was living with my 2 grandkids, and my son and daughter-in-law were there too, but me and the grandkids were having a lot of fun. And but as it started getting crazier, March break got canceled, and then they weren't going back. And then I started my jobs around the 1st of April. And so I couldn't get into my summer home, my modern day covered wagon over there in Lyndhurst. And so I was going out to jobs and going home and going out. And, you try to be careful, but in those days, nobody knew anything.
Yeah.
And so I just envisioned me bringing this home to my I went and got a motel for like the last 2 weeks until my unit opened.
Yeah.
And they didn't want. They were saying, "Oh no, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't be around them, knowing that I was going out in the community every day. So that got me through to my summer home, and I was relieved when I was there because I was only responsible for myself. And I'm going back crap crazy in my head by myself over there.
Oh, I can imagine. It was hard. Yeah, when they first made the announcements and we were still trying to learn just how bad this was actually going to be, we went through the extremes of, I would call when I was on my way home from the grocery store so that someone could disinfect the table, and we put all the groceries at one end, opened whatever packages we could and dumped it on the clean side to be put away by somebody other than me who had just touched the boxes, and threw everything in the garbage right away, disinfecting the outside of containers that we couldn't dump. And it was very, very stressful for myself, for the kids.
My daughter-in-law will love watching this because she'll know that she's not crazy because she started that whole process really early in the game. And my son and I'm really old school, and my son is a little bit like me. And but we both towed the line, and we come in the side door and left everything in that room, and wash our hands right away. Me down to my room, have a shower at the end of the day when I come in, and
same thing. My our oldest, she had finished her second year of university in Thunder Bay, so when she came home, she was able to get a job back at her summer job. So she was working at one of the local grocery stores as a cashier, and when she came home, that she wouldn't hug anyone or even really say hello. She went straight upstairs, had a shower. All of the clothes that she had worn went into the wash, and that was the routine every day for a couple of months.
For probably the majority of households across Canada.
I think so.
For sure.
And I know there were a couple times that I had to go and buy supplies at a grocery store, whether I really wanted to or not. You run out of things.
Yeah.
And I still try to avoid. I'm trying to do more local shopping, small stores, farms when I can. I'm trying to avoid the big stores. But there was one time I know I called on my way and said to Kim, I'm going shopping. Do you need anything? No sense both of us going to try it. And then John one day asked, he said, do you want to stop in? Like, come and have a cup of tea in the yard or something. And I wouldn't come because I had been to the grocery store and I didn't know what I might be wearing. And it was like, I would have stopped in first, but now that I've been to the store, I best go home. And for me, it was really isolating too. You mentioned you've been alone. I live alone too. And my social time is to go to watch my friends play music at open mic nights and to socialize. I have a great group of ladies I socialize with, and I didn't get to see them at all. I missed my grandkids and my kids.
Me too, man. I used to drive over every day in front of the house, and they come out on the porch, and and they had the kids, real credit to their mom and dad, because the kids understood and handled it, and they said, "Oh, Poppy, we got to keep, because
they're little,
I still love you. I hope you're coming every day." And so it worked out okay. I felt really good about the fact that everybody was okay, and so. And I just missed the hugs,
Yeah,
it's hard.
I still miss the hugs.
I got a few concerts from the ukuleles off them on the front porch. So
I saw those.
Yeah,
you posted a couple great videos.
Yeah.
My son lives in Midland, so he's an hour and a half away from me.
Mm-hmm.
And they've both been, both he and his wife have been working from home.
Yeah.
And their girls were doing the online learning, the distance learning is what we called it.
Yeah.
And they did that in the spring, so they were pretty self-contained. They haven't really been much of anywhere. No. I did go to visit, one of them had a birthday, and I did go to visit her for her birthday.
Right.
We stayed outside. There was no hugs. That's the hardest thing. Although if a grandchild comes up and runs up to you and throws their arms around you and hugs you, you hug back.
Oh yeah,
for sure you do.
Well,
that happened here one day.
I got lucky because when we got to the level of the pandemic reopening, or whatever they called it, level this, level that. I can't keep track of anything. I'm brutal, So my son and daughter-in-law said, well, you know what, we're going to make you part of the bubble if you promise to do everything you're supposed to do out there. And I'm old school, but I'm not stupid and I'm not a liar. I wouldn't say, oh yeah, and then just go out and do whatever I want and come back.
Right.
So then from that, they said, if you do that in 1 week, you can just, you're in. And so I did, and I have been ever since. And really, it's not been that much of a burden because around my jobs, I just put my mask on, wander through the house and make sure everything's okay. And then, but being by myself, I got to tell you, I've been on my own now for 4 years, but every 2 months I go to Cuba.
Right.
My life has been wrapped
Your life
around
is Cuba.
for 22 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
it's crazy.
so that must be affecting you a little bit, a lot of bit.
Oh man, I just miss that crowd, that crowd of mine down there. I mean, that place, it's lovely and insane. It's just beautiful. I mean, 3 a.m, down through the square with your guitar on your back on your bicycle.
Cool.
What other city in
That
the world
sounds like
can
a
you do
lot
that?
of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot. I loved it. I lived there for 4 months this winter, and then I was going down again in April, and then again in June, like I would normally do every 2 months.
Yeah.
Saved a ton of dough. But so what I did was I charged. They were locked down there. The Cubans, they locked them down in 2 days. As soon as it started affecting there, they just locked everybody in. Yeah, and the Cubans took it serious. They're all pulling together, but they're locked in, and they're poor people to begin with, relatively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I must have charged 100 phones. They have a promotion once a month where it's $20 and they get $60 worth. So I would charge 20 or 30 phones every month, people I knew.
Wow.
And I'd pick a family member of a group of people and a family member of another group. So they would divvy it all up between them, the 60.
Right.
Right. And so then they can talk to their cousins in the provinces, see how
Oh,
they're.
that's so
Yeah, it was
nice.
really
It's
neat.
very generous.
Well,
That's
not
awesome.
really. I have a theory about that. You'll think I'm crazy. Well, you won't think I'm crazy, but
Well,
God gives you some gifts,
yes.
And with them, it gives me everything I need.
Yeah.
And it gives me actually a little more. Well, the little more is not for me.
See that, but that's still
an
generous.
excellent way of looking
because
at
not everybody feels it that way.
That's their
No.
problem.
Some
Yeah.
you're right. Some people
You're right,
look
it
at
is.
it as I have extra, so
Well, I'm extremely grateful that my kids and my grandkids, all my family, we've had a pretty good lot in life. So that's my way of saying thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I pick my times who I help so that you get the biggest bang for the buck. It's going to help somebody the most at a time that they need it the most, that kind of thing. So that was my spring experience and yours.
yeah.
So I wanted to talk there's a couple of issues that related to spouses in the household, and somebody's got to stay home now and take care of the kids. In your case, you were fortunate that you're there already.
Yes.
But there's lots of couples,
Yeah.
and then it would automatically be assumed, okay, I guess the wife's going to have to stay home now. And so how that all got decided, I don't know if you have any friends or anybody with that kind of.
I know any of our friends, if they had even the possibility of staying home and working from home,
Right.
they were pretty quick to try to do that
Of
wherever
course.
possible.
Yeah.
In some cases, it was both halves of the couple were able to stay home.
Yeah.
I don't know how some of them decide. I think it kind of depended on what the actual income level was and just how exposed to any viruses they may have been.
Yeah.
Well,
Least exposure and higher income stayed at work and the others stayed home, I think.
yeah, and that's the experience. Some of my friends, and it wasn't even always the least exposure. One couple I know, the husband stayed home because he made less money than his wife,
Well, that's-
and she happens to be a PSW, so she was working with special needs people, so
Yeah.
she needed to work because they needed the staff, but she made more money than he did, so he stayed home. She went to work.
That's a sensible decision.
Well,
Yes.
it was logical. I have a neighbor who works at a long-term care facility in Georgina, one of the ones that was very hard hit.
Yeah.
She had to stop working the minute there was the first case because she didn't any longer have a babysitter willing to look after a child of a worker.
That's brutal. Eh?
So she spent several months at home. She's only just gone back to work in the last few weeks.
Do you know people that work in those homes?
I do.
Yeah.
I have a question for
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
How can you possibly say thank you enough to those people that walk right through the gates of hell every single day.
I buy her wine. To be honest
Give
with
me a
you.
name and I'll drop some off.
To
I'm
be
telling
honest with
you.
you, I'll write
I'll
down
drop a case off.
I'll write down her favorite wine for you because
Yeah,
she's
please do. I'm telling you right now. I can't even get my head around.
Anybody who continued working when that first announcement, when things first started shutting down, any of our emergency response people, the grocery store cashiers, doctors, nurses, all those people, PSWs, anybody who was actually working in March and April are heroes. Everybody else was at home
100%.
panicking, wondering what are we going to do next, and they just got up and got it done. So I don't think we'll ever be able to thank them enough.
No, well, actually, funny you should say that because I have a friend that works at the local music store.
Yeah.
Yeah. And him and I are,
Do you?
I know a couple of those guys.
I've heard they're nice
him and I are
guys.
actually just working on a pandemic song right now.
Yeah.
And for me, it's Georgina. I mean, it always will be, And but I cannot get my head around, and the way all of the politicians just settled down and took care of it.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how you
much
voted.
you hate Ford or how much you hate Trudeau, love him or hate him, whatever, they stepped up.
You're absolutely right. I was thinking about that on the way here. That's something I've been saying since day one.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily have to agree with anybody's politics, but boy, oh boy, are we lucky to live in this country.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And the name of the song is "We're Canadians." It's what we do.
There you go. Can't wait to hear it.
That
sounds perfect.
Perfect name for it. Even locally, even our regional people, our municipal people. And let's face it, we've done a fantastic job in Georgina.
Yeah.
We have 0 cases.
Yeah,
We do.
How lucky are we?
Yeah, we've done, like, as a country, as regions and provinces, and everybody just pulled together, and it's,
And there's
Pretty amazing.
For the most part, people are really good about making sure they wear their masks and keeping their distance.
right.
I've had the occasional person at Walmart coming down the wrong way down the aisle, and they look at me like I'm in the wrong place. And there's been a few weird things like that, but for the most part,
95%
I'd say
decent people usually.
Yeah.
And in true Canadian fashion, the ones that are the jerks, I pray for them.
Yes. Makes sense.
Yeah, and
There you go.
but some of them recognize right away. One lady looked at me. I was shopping last week, and she gave me this really dirty look and she was like measuring between our carts or something, trying to decide whether we were the right distance. And then she noticed the arrow on the floor and turned around and left. Didn't say a word to me, and I hadn't said anything to her. She just, I guess she realized that, I'm the one that's in the wrong place.
My only fear is that we've done so well and things are looking so good. My fear is that people are going to get too comfortable and go back to normal too quickly.
Yeah, that's...
I don't want to see us end up in a second wave because we relaxed because we had a whole month with no new cases.
Actually, the whole ticket would be, I think, to keep it at the level that we're at now, where everybody's mandatory masks indoors and any public places. And then all of the different occupations have sorted themselves out as far as testing people, how often to be tested and that kind of stuff. And,
No, you're right.
Except for our school system that's going
well,
back
funny
soon.
you should bring that up. That was my next subject. And, I'm old school, so I'm going to rant about the teachers and, they're out there or whatever.
You go right ahead.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not a teacher.
I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. I am old school, so right away they get 2 months off every year, blah, 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 and all the rhetoric.
Yeah.
I have it in my pocket in case I ever need it. I pull it out.
Yeah.
But the truth is, they're not looking at a real... The only part of it I wonder about, and it's always the same, these are not normal times.
Definitely
In normal
not.
times, teachers and government right against it, whatever they get, God love them and all the rest of it. But you got to there's two sides of it. How much, now that we're getting past the emergency aspects of it, how much are the Liberals using policies to, make the Conservatives look bad? So it gets into that whole game again.
They're starting a little bit of that.
And teachers, how much are they making this go back more difficult than it has to be because they don't want it to work out?
But really, if you look at what
Do you know what I
the
mean?
teachers are asking,
and I'm asking so that you look at that aspect of it.
I'm going to say from my perspective as an educational assistant,
and I'll take your word for it.
Teachers,
you live there.
We want to be back. Teachers, EAs, we just want everything. We want life to go back to normal.
So how hard is it with the way that the government's laid it out now? It seems like it's almost impossible.
It seems. I had a meeting. I'm actually going back a little bit early,
Right.
to help transition some of the special needs kids, to give them some of an idea on how to wear masks, how to follow lines on the floor, some of the protocols that are going to be in place. And
Right.
so I'm participating in this special program
on.
next week.
Right
Yeah.
on.
Scary as heck, though.
I bet.
It's because we don't know, and a lot of what the school boards are hearing, they hear on the news.
Yeah.
So even this morning, we don't have full details of what's going on, and I'm going to be in school with children next week. Not a large number.
But still,
But still
and you
have
don't know where
children
they're
there.
coming from, and then you have to try and govern them or like get them, steer them in the right direction.
The only thing I know for myself right now is I work and live in Georgina.
Yeah.
So I know there's less risk.
Yeah.
I don't know where the parents come from. I don't
Right.
know where they work. So
Yeah.
we don't know what's going on with that for sure. But the whole thing's going to be a bit of a challenge. Just the rules around who wears masks, who doesn't wear masks, but the numbers. And that's the thing that you've probably heard most in the news lately. The government initially, the high schools are capped at 15 students.
Per class. And every other day.
Yeah, and only for half a day.
Well, it depends. In the Catholic board, they're not doing it every other day, but they're doing half days. They're doing period one, period two. Period one and period two.
Right.
They're doing quadmesters in our Catholic. I work for the Catholic school board. We're doing quadmesters, so they'll take what would have been a semester's worth, period 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
For the first half, they're going to do period 1 and 2.
Right.
Half online, half in class. And then they're going to switch and do period 3 and 4 that will end at the end of January.
I heard a little bit of swearing going on there from a couple of mothers that got the deadline
yeah.
to notify,
Yeah.
and then the next day they got the list of the criteria.
Yes.
Yeah.
And only one more day to make the decision with that list of criteria.
And I understand our board's list, I guess the decision making, it was supposed to be today, but now it's been extended to tomorrow.
Oh, the deadline for letting them
deadline
know.
For letting them know. There's challenges around that. Some parents are terrified to send their children
Yeah.
back.
What would you recommend? What would be the decision-making process that you would recommend for a parent?
Oh gosh.
Better yet.
Put me on the
What
spot
would
and
be
somebody
your-
from the
yeah,
board is going to...
Let's leave this one to Kim for
Okay,
now.
let's leave it from your perspective. What would you
You're
do?
fully informed
Although you and I have talked
and
about this a little
educated
bit.
on the issue.
We have talked about it a little bit, and I'll be honest, I have not yet filled out the survey myself as to whether or not my kids are returning. We've gone back and forth a number of times,
Right.
but more than once I've wanted to just honestly flip a coin and figure it out, because there is no right answer,
No.
and it is so hard, and everybody has such strong opinions about why their opinion is right, that if yours is different, you somehow feel guilty and like you should change it to match theirs. But
Yeah.
now you don't match the other guy anymore. So it's very,
It's a
very
real
difficult.
personal choice.
You really, really have to weigh the pros and cons. For me personally, we have 6 that are going back to school. We have 4 in elementary and 2 at the high school level.
Well, you're champions when it comes to family.
So it's this model for the online or distance learning, whatever we're calling it for the fall. It's different than what the finish the year was in the
Yes.
spring.
Yeah.
It's completely different. And for me personally, I don't feel like I can be on top of 6 grade levels worth of work. And the younger 3, who then arguably need the most amount of help and supervision, they're all in French immersion. You cannot learn French immersion if you are not immersed. And although I personally can speak French and I can read and understand it, I'm definitely okay to keep them at home. I think their learning will be better at school. So we are going to fill out the survey tonight that will say they are going back. knowing that I can pull them out the second I feel uncomfortable or there's more than one case in their school or whatnot. But at the end of the day, you have to turn off the noise of everyone else.
Yeah, and
Yes.
make your
You
personal
have
choice.
you have to look at what are our jobs. Like I will go back as a lunch supervisor, partly because I don't think they're going to find somebody brand new to come into a kindergarten room and navigate that.
Yeah.
So if my kids are going back, there's no good reason for me to stay home myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I can help, because some of those kids are last year's JKs. I know half of those kindergarten kids already, and the friendly face that they know will help those kids transition as well.
Friendly face from the nose.
From the
up.
nose up anyway,
Any decent person will be a help in that situation.
Well,
and a mother,
and-
mother with experience.
But someone who's been in that position
Well, you're
before
used to
is
a
better
herd
than
too, eh?
brand new.
You're used to you're used to a big herd anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got one at home.
She's been
Exactly.
herding cats for.
Yes. Yeah. So it's I don't know, it's a hard decision, but you have to do what is best for you
Yeah.
and your family.
My personal
Trust
choice
your gut.
would be, for me, I would be more inclined to keep younger ones home for a month or two,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they'll get it all sorted out, and you can always send them later.
Yeah.
That was
The older ones will be more responsible anyway, and more capable of navigating themselves through any process.
yes.
So hopefully parents have been teaching their children all along
Yeah.
about proper hand washing, counting to 20,
Wearing masks.
wearing their masks, getting them used to wearing masks and things. Hopefully that's been happening. It shouldn't be brand new surprise. Yeah, we're going to get wet. It shouldn't be a huge surprise that the kids are wearing masks at school or that staff are wearing masks at school.
No.
I worry most about the kindergartens.
Yeah.
There are 30 children in a classroom
There are.
who are 3, 4, and 5 years old.
Yep.
And it speaks to what you said. I don't know if I was the parent of a kindergarten child right now. I'm not so sure I'd be in a big rush to send
No.
them.
No.
If I
Only
had
because
kindergarten, they would be home.
it's supposed to be play-based learning, and I don't know how you play all on your own. And but the online version for that, for kindergarten, sitting in front of a computer for 200 minutes a day,
Yeah.
No.
that to me isn't
You're
cool
raising
either.
a bunch
So-
of loners.
Yeah. One thing I will say, there's been I've seen a lot of negative posts about how teachers are complaining about the back to school plan. And although I'm not opposed to the high school model, but in elementary school that I'm aware of, being a teacher and being in the school, it's the only profession that the job requirements weren't lessened. Like, we've all stood in line to wait to get into a grocery store. There's reduced capacities inside. At the different places we had the online learning, so we had high school is half classes.
Yeah.
Why are elementary teachers going back to full class sizes when everywhere doctors are doing calls online?
Meet me at the
and-
door.
Yeah, so
Yeah, if you're lucky.
Right?
we've got
Yeah.
pickups and porch drop-offs and online ordering, but in elementary school we have full capacity of everything. And I understand that globally there's been far less cases in children.
Yeah.
Schools have been closed since March.
Yeah,
So
I
is there
know.
less cases because they're less susceptible, or because they've
they
been
haven't
less
been
exposed?
anywhere.
I don't think I'd want to be testing the theory anymore.
No.
Exactly. So I don't disagree with teachers wanting to reduce class sizes.
Yeah.
I have no idea where we're going to magically get the extra classrooms and extra teachers to teach in them, but I fully understand why teachers want to be reduced. Everybody
Well, I
else
think
got
they might
reduced
be-
hours.
I think actually the teachers might be becoming victims of the old mentality us against them and stuff. So now that we're getting
Yeah.
past the
And-
emergency, the government's saying, "Oh, well, let them handle it."
The
Yeah.
teachers have been asking for smaller sizes for years.
Yeah.
That's
Now
not
they're
really
trying
what
to
they
take
asked for. Last time, what the teachers didn't ask for was smaller classes. They asked to maintain the sizes that they had
Right.
and not increase them, because that was the concern, was that everything was going to be increased.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm
It's two sides of the same coin. But
It
I'm
is.
a big proponent of physical responsibility.
yeah.
Yeah.
The liberals take care of us,
Yeah.
and the conservatives make sure they don't spend too much money doing it.
Yes.
Right.
And the pendulum swings, and in Canada it swings wonderfully that we have a pretty
Yeah.
responsible social
Yes.
networking and social life, and I like Ford's physical responsibility, but there's a couple areas where I got personally touched by it. I met a mother who was the mother of an autistic child,
Yeah.
and they got nailed so hard.
when the program ended.
When the
Oh, for sure
programs-
they would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they got, and so then I had to. So in my own mind, I never had a chance to look into it. Whenever I write music about stuff, I spend 6 months reading about it and so on, and so I got into that subject. So I couldn't forgive him for not looking into it enough to say, okay, let's take this group of people out of this.
Yeah.
Because they, you know what I mean, not being thorough enough.
Wow.
Because that funding is huge.
It is.
And for those that are missing out, it's
Incredibly huge.
Yeah.
And and mothers of autistic children don't mind the burden. It's not about that. It's about even being able to cope
Yes.
with, like, helping them. It's about the kid. It's not about the mother. I talked to a few since then, and the bulk of autistic mothers, they accept their lot in life very well.
Yep.
They're the first ones to understand that this child doesn't have special needs. He's got different needs. He's not
Exactly.
different. He thinks different. He's not,
Yeah.
like all the stuff that goes with that.
you're right.
Well, the government didn't take the time. They just lumped them in with the rest of the people that are getting cut. And
Yeah.
then, that's this huge group
It's,
of so
And there seem to be more children with autism. We seem to see it more frequently than, I don't know whether it's just that it's being diagnosed better now. Like when we were kids, I'd never even heard the word autism. I didn't know what that was. But when we were kids, anyone who was different in any way was in a special school, or they were institutionalized when they were. I used to work for community living too. I worked with a lot of special needs adults, and some of them came out of institutions, and they were okay when they were fine when they went in. They just weren't. Whatever happened in the institution, they were needy when they came out because
they didn't get what they needed when they were in there. So then when
they didn't. So the school system has evolved, and when I was first in EA, you worked one-on-one with one child.
Yeah.
And then they would maybe group them together so that if there were two children that needed some EA support, you put them both, and they're the same age, you put them in the same classroom, and then I could work with this one and maybe at the same time, or maybe help this one a little bit and then go and help that one. Then they started adding more. But now it's becoming even more that we deal more with a lot of the behaviors of children, more so.
Jerry Darrenfield was telling me about that.
I read his most recent comments.
Well,
he was like spot on. By
I
the way,
interviewed him.
Yeah, I watched that too.
Oh, see, when he was talking about special needs and the assistance.
Yeah, he's posted something very recently online. I read a post that he had yesterday or today, and he was like, he's right on. Children are getting less support.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's partly that there are more of them, or if it's because
there's less EAs.
Well, and some will argue that it's because we get paid too darn much. Because the ministry provides money to schools based on student need, and then they have to divide that by the dollars I get paid per hour, and that's how many hours they can allot to students. So if I got paid less,
your time is determined by budget, not by need.
Yeah.
In some manners, yes. Yeah. The ministry.
Very diplomatic answer. I'll take that as where we're not clear on that.
The ministry provides money to the boards based on need.
Yeah.
But then the board has to figure out how to divvy that up among the needs, because there really are a lot of needs.
Oh, yeah.
But then, I'm paid a certain amount per hour.
So
that determines how many hours of money they got for special ed. So then they know how many, so that's why you start bundling 3, 4, 5 kids in a classroom, because that way they all get some support, and some is better than nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
This year, I don't know how it's going to work out.
Yeah,
I can see in this camera, I'm looking behind me, and I can see the dark clouds
coming in. Yeah,
we can do a short interview today. We can do another one another time. I just wanted to address some of whatever we've all been through, but mothers especially, because they generally run the household, and they I'm being a sexist, I guess. I don't know.
No, you're not.
All right.
No, we've had those conversations before.
Okay. Well, let's pretend they don't. All right. So let's do it that way. So anyway, but no, and just what families have gone through. I'm really, in the early stages. I know what I went through. Grandmothers and grandparents, grandkids, teachers, the whole 9 yards. It's been a nightmare for all of us.
It's been a nightmare for all of us, for sure.
It has.
Yeah.
It has.
So, any tips from others?
I think routine is important. Not necessarily a schedule, not by the clock, but we're going to do this and then we're going to do that, and it's the same thing every day. I think that was a real saving grace for us, especially in the spring, trying to get all the school work done. The school had dictated 1 o'clock for high school, so it was like, okay, we're doing elementary in the morning, high school in the afternoon. No screens until your schoolwork is done, like with the exception of school, obviously. And just try to keep things consistent. Still go to bed at bedtime. They don't need to stay up till 10 just because summer vacation started in March. Have a pajama day on the weekend. We still need to get up and get dressed and get ready for the day.
Exactly.
And we don't just lounge around and play video games in our pajamas all day because we don't have somewhere to be.
It helps when your kids have a good work ethic, doesn't it?
It does. And like I said, having that routine, if you saw inside my house, I've got lists everywhere because I can't keep it straight.
Hey, we got to get at this because we want to get done. So
that's it. I don't want to fight and I don't want to remember everything. So I've got a list. It's like, just go do the no screens list. And when it's simple things. Make your bed, brush your teeth, get dressed,
eat breakfast,
put your laundry away. Those kind of things. When the list is done, you can have screens for an hour. If the list isn't done, go do your work and then go to the screens. But my kids don't fight me to get off the screens when I say, okay, guys, off in 5 minutes. Okay, Mom. Because it's part of the routine.
I interviewed Sandra and Kevin Hutchins in the Hutchins farm. And their kids, they were into the routine. Like they were saying, oh, you can take it off today. So then the next day they're up and at it early because they didn't get the
That's
school.
right.
Yeah, so they had their own work ethic, which was really neat.
And
that's exactly it.
A couple of Kim's girls, they told me how wonderful it was that they could get all their work done between Monday and Thursday. And Mommy gave us a PA day every Friday.
And they had no work left to sign. So
I think the advice I gave parents in the spring, and I have neighbors with young children and they're still stressing about whether to send them back or not. And in the spring, the way the learning worked, I was like, don't sweat it. They'd be going, well, he's behind. And I said,
it's not behind.
So what? He's behind only because he's as behind as everybody else because there's only so much work to be done. So I was like, just enjoy your day, enjoy your children. And I think trying to not let them see your stress.
Yeah, that's a biggie.
Don't let your kids think that you're panicking about sending them to school that first day of school, by the way. Just
take a deep breath and go with it.
Smile at them.
Can the parents go?
On the first day? Likely parents, not inside.
Not inside. Even
so they're going to be like out the window.
Well, you know what? They don't usually let parents inside on the parents day anyway.
Yeah, no, I know.
It'll just be goodbye.
Even that program I'm going to do next week, parents will meet us at the front door and they're not coming in to see where their kids are going.
Well, and nor should they. I mean, it's
they don't need to. And we know what we're doing. Well, we're hoping to know what we're doing, but we're working on it, and we're professional enough that we'll take care of your children for those couple hours, and we have to still assess ourselves every morning before we go. So if I have a cough or a sniffle or a sore throat, I'm staying home, I'm getting tested. So I'm going to make sure your children are as safe as I can make your children, and that's all I can do.
I think the teachers and the administrators are going to, and the politicians are all going to fight the cats and dogs over Hazlett. But I think the kids are going to show up, and the teachers are going to take care of them like they always do.
And
for sure they will.
No matter what.
And I don't think the administrators are fighting. And even though I think we're all trying to figure it out together, and it will work. And
I believe so too. I believe
one of the teachers I spoke to this morning, she said she heard something on the news over the weekend, and it was a really good mantra maybe for us all to grasp. Don't fear the virus. Respect the virus.
100%.
And that, like I just heard that this morning, and that's exactly what it is. We have to understand it's there. It's not going anywhere. And I suspect we're going to be hearing of cases of this for a long time to come. So
you are both going back into schools and well, thank you both for that, for sure.
Well, you're welcome for that.
You're going to be there.
I miss my kids. I only see them for an hour a day. My kindergarten.
Miss your kids,
but those kindergarten kids, I love getting I can't do hugs
We
this
can't do
year.
hugs this
Can't do
year.
hugs this year, but
Yeah.
it's one of the best things to have
Yeah.
some little one like your grandson come up to me and give
he
me a
used to go to our
hug
school,
or
so
a
yeah.
high
Yeah.
five and say like, "Hi, Mrs. Connors, I missed you."
Yeah.
It's really, really amazing to have someone
Oh, I
else's
can
child
imagine. I
greet
can
you
just
like
imagine.
that.
Yeah,
It's I miss them. I saw a few of them in various stores at the beginning,
Yeah.
and could see the excitement of seeing someone from school, and then the withdrawn face when it's like, oh, I can't run away to you.
Yeah.
And it's just it was heartbreaking.
And
But
no doubt.
we had a few that came in June when they were picking up the things from their desks, and one little guy came to come and give me a big hug, and I had to like, whoa,
so hard.
and that was the hardest thing
That's
because
heartbreaking,
we're not supposed to spend a lot of time touching children anyway.
No.
But
How long did it take before, the youngest one started hugging you again at the end of the sabbatical? Takes a little
Well,
bit, eh?
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, because it's not.
Like my grandkids.
For these grandkids?
After I was allowed to come back.
Oh, once they were allowed, it didn't take them very long.
The one was the first one. I stopped by one day and we were, we just,
That's that might end it.
Well, you know what?
one spotted me in the doorway and went, "Grandma," and he came running up and he gave me this big hug, and it was like, "Hey, buddy!" Like I wasn't, and I was holding him and I was hugging. I said, "You know, we're not supposed to do this, right?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, I know," and he couldn't let go.
He started to cry.
He did start to cry.
He's
Yeah.
12.
So he came and spent a couple days with me just to
Mine
kind
were
of hang out.
cautious, and
Yeah.
they were always sad that they couldn't.
Yeah.
So we made the best we could out of it.
Yes.
And the day that they could, they both
Yeah.
like literally
Yeah,
took me
it's,
down off my feet. So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I've got
So
He's pretty amazing.
thank
So-
you very, very much for doing the interview. I really appreciate it.
You're
People
welcome.
would be really happy to hear this stuff. And Georgina Speaks, Donna Hazlett, Tim Connors, thank you so much.
Thank
so if
you.
you both say goodbye and lean forward and hit that red button to shut it off.
All right.
You
Goodbye.
closer to the
Thank you.
button. Bye. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Here we
you very
go.
much. See you
Nice
guys
close
later.
up of my face.
Well, the children played and the families prayed and the doctors went to town. Together we stood apart, stared that COVID down. You cared for me, we cared for you. We're Canadians, that's what we do.